Hello, and welcome to the Slack Spring Cleaning Series, Episode 3, Create Structured Data in Slack Using Simple Automation. My name is Byron Chopek. I'm a certified Slack administrator and certified Slack consultant. And this presentation I've actually never given before. So this is the first time I'm actually doing it, so maybe a little bit choppy, but hey, we'll give it a shot. This is kind of based on how I got unstuck talk that I gave about a year or so ago, and kind of tried to turn it into an actual presentation. So what this presentation basically is going to do is it's going to allow you to create some structured data within Slack using both Workflow Builder and lists. So let me just real quick go over our agenda today. We're going to talk about the difference between structured data and unstructured data. We're going to give you just kind of a brief overview of Slack's Workflow Builder and list features. And then we're going to go into kind of a hypothetical client problem of how we can create structured data within Slack and kind of demo how we put it all together using both Workflow Builder and lists. And at the end, I'll kind of show you the really important step where I got stuck that will kind of help you overall make sure you don't get stuck if you end up doing something like this. So once again, my name is Byron Chopek. I'm a certified Slack administrator and consultant, and also one of the leaders for the Chicago chapter of the Slack community. I have worked over about 5 or so years in the Slack ecosystem, working as an admin and consultant for companies in the e-discovery, technology, fast food, cybersecurity, basically kind of helping them get the most out of Slack, not just from a technical aspect, but also from a collaboration aspect as well. So today, let's just kind of really level set because we're going to be talking about a bunch of different terms, and I want to make sure that we're all together on the same page as we're talking about those terms. So first term I want to talk about is what's called structured data. Now, this is data that's organized, kind of predefined, and often stored in databases. So if you are a Salesforce administrator, first off, welcome. And Salesforce is kind of a perfect example of data that's stored and labeled. So think of when you're talking about, if you're familiar with Salesforce, think of like objects, fields, records, all of that kind of stuff. That's structured data that's tied to a client or tied to an account or whatever. Unstructured data, on the other hand, is data that's not really stored in a pre-defined format. It can range really from anything, being it messages, files, links to dashboards, things of that nature. This is really Slack's bread and butter, as files and other data can be stored within a Slack workspace for reference. So this is basically kind of data that's out there that you're actively working on. So within Slack, a lot of stuff, as you can tell, is probably unstructured data because we don't really have it predefined in anything. It's literally, I have this file, I'm sending it to my colleague, and we're working back and forth together on that file. So to create structured data within Slack, there's actually 2 different tools that you can use together. The first is it's called Workflow Builder. So this is kind of similar to, if you're familiar with Salesforce, kind of similar to Flow. It's an automation tool within Slack that's built on basically having a starting trigger and then having sequential steps following it. So you click a button, it asks you to fill out a form, you fill out that form, it posts to the list, and kind of so on and so forth, all without any coding that's needed. So we're going to use Workflow Builder as our collector to collect the data. You'll see this in a second in the demo. And then lists. Now Slack markets lists as kind of like a project management tool, but it's not really, I look at it more as kind of a collection kind of database for any info within Slack that you want to put together. So think of lists kind of like an Excel spreadsheet, excuse me, that you have the ability to add things into from workflows. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the data collection from Workflow Builder and input it into lists. And then from lists, if you need to, you can always export that list out into a CSV and then put it out into other tools. So let's give you kind of our client problem. So we have a bail bonds client that wants to keep track of suspicious calls that are coming into their offices for basically asking for help for people who may have previously applied for bail and then skipped their follow-up court date. So the issue is that there's not really one central location where all this info can be collected and stored. Instead, it's just kind of shared in like group text messages or on pen and paper. So pick up the phone. Hey, this sounds kind of suspicious. Text my boss. Hey, I just got this really suspicious call. Okay, yeah, tell everybody don't take any more calls from this person, yada, 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 so on and so forth. What we're looking for within Slack is we're looking for an area where everybody on our team is in one workspace, and we can easily kind of collect this data and have it shared so that everybody can kind of see. So it's not just, I talked to so-and-so, the other day and this kind of happened. It's more of, hey, I talked to this person. I immediately logged it into Slack. It's now put together on a list that anybody can see and export and put wherever they need. So let's demo it and let's kind of just show you overall what this kind of looks like when you put it together. So we're here in our workspace, and as you'll notice, this is kind of like a public channel. It's called Help No Bail List. So this is everybody within the company is a part of this channel. You'll notice there's this green button at the bottom here. This is going to launch our workflow. So the person that is calling, so we'll just kind of say, hey, this is the name that they gave us. Here's the phone number that they gave us, and then kind of a reasoning for why we're putting them on that bond list because of whatever. You can add whatever you want in here with your forms. So go ahead and we'll click submit. Now that adds a brand new channel, a brand new message here in that channel, so that way people who are in that channel, they can say, hey, I'm taking a look at that. Or if somebody remembers this, they can easily kind of put in the chat, hey, I remember this person, look up this case number, blah, 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 blah. So that way they, we have like a centralized point of communication where it's not just, I write this information down. It's like write this information down, and I have all this required information that I have to put in there so that way we all know, what we're looking for. So that's everything within the channel, but you'll click up here. These are this is the list. So like I said, it's kind of like an Excel spreadsheet on steroids. You'll notice that Jody at the bottom is added in there. Now I can change the view here. If I click on that little area, I can have it as a table view right now. Or if you're more a Kanban board person, you can kind of create Kanban boards and kind of move people back and forth. You can separate it out by dates or any other kind of, way you want to separate that out by. And then if you need to export it, you'll click on these three dots here, download as a CSV file, and that'll export it into kind of like an easy, Excel or Google Sheets or whatever it is your company uses. So that's how this whole thing works. Let's see how we kind of put it all together. So the first place I'm going to go to is my workflow. So if I click over to automations, this might be under more, you'll find workflows that are managed by you. So you'll see here I've got the no bail list. I'll click on the little pencil icon, and then I'll bring up my workflow builder. So as I said before, workflows start with a trigger at the top here. There's a bunch of different triggers. You can do a time-based trigger, or somebody joins a new channel, things of that nature. What we're using here is a link trigger. Now the reason we're using a link trigger is you'll notice that green button that we had at the beginning. We're basically just going to copy and paste this link and put it into that button, so that way it launches this actual workflow. So I'll just kind of copy that link, say, okay, this is how I want to start my workflow out, and save it. And then I'm going to go into my collect into a form. There's a bunch of different things you can kind of play around with Workflow Builder. I'm just kind of showing you just a general idea of, something you can do here. And basically what you can do with this workflow builder is you can kind of create individualized questions and just kind of edit them, save them, move them around, make them required, unrequired. And then when it comes to sending a message, you want to select a channel and then kind of write out your message. You'll notice these blue variables in here. You'll click on the insert variables. The variables are going to come from either from the workflow itself or from the responses that you have from your form. So you can easily kind of match those responses into the message that you saw. So we'll cancel out of that. And then finally, the add items to a list. You'll click on the edit here. And what you'll want to do is you'll want to create your list ahead of time and just kind of create the different fields. So you'll select the list that you want in there. I'll normally click next, but basically you'll select the list that you want. And then in those different fields, you'll want to add the variables in just by clicking on that little blue kind of variable thing on the side. That'll take stuff from your answers to your questions or the time when the message happened, so on and so forth. So we'll click Save. And then once we're ready to do that, we click on Publish Changes. So that now adds those changes together. So that green button that we showed earlier, I'm just going to show you real quick how to get that green button together. So what you're going to do is you're going to go back to your channel. You'll click on the Workflows tab at the top here, and you'll see at the top it says Feature Workflow. So right now, if you need to find your workflow, you can kind of add the workflow there. But what you'll want to do is next to the workflow, you want to click on those three buttons. I'm just going to remove the feature and just kind of show you what it looks like. So right now I've removed the feature, so it's just kind of like every other channel. If I go back into the workflows here and I click on the three dots, I'll go ahead and say, hey, make this my featured workflow, or you can do it from up here as well. So no bail lists, click on feature. Now that it's under feature workflow, now you have your green button there, so that way people can click on that button. It starts up your workflow and connects everything together. So last but not least, and I want to actually move my camera while I talk about this, we're going to talk about the area where I kind of got stuck on this, because I was putting this together and just kind of got stuck in this one area that I was trying to figure out, okay, why is I'm collecting everything within the workflow, but it's not showing up within the list. First thing I want to make sure is have a list pre-created with all your fields ahead of time, so that way you kind of know where your variables are going to go into your fields. But the other thing is you want to make sure to generate a form to collect info for the step is unchecked. So over here, I'll put my head over here. So on this one, you'll notice there's a check mark that says generate a form to collect info for this step. So when you're in Workflow Builder and you say, okay, hey, add this to an item in the list, this is automatically going to be checked. You're going to want to make sure you uncheck that because you've already created a list and you already have a form at the top that's going to collect all that information. So you'll want to make sure that that's unchecked, excuse me, so that way you have everything together. All right, well, this actually went a lot better than I thought for the first time out. I just want to thank you all so very much for being with us here today, and hopefully you have a great rest of your spring, and we will see you soon.